everyone. Thank you so much for joining another episode of the Just Some Magic podcast. I am your host, Morgan, and here on Just Some Magic, we like to share people's most magical moments in and out of the theme parks. Today, I have a very impressive soon to be mom. Today, I have Alex, who is on Instagram, Mrs. Tom Morrow. So, hi, Alex. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so good. First off, do you want to give us a little teaser of what your story is you're going to share with us today?
So my teaser is I've been running Run Disney races, mostly at Walt Disney World for the last 7 or 8 years. I
Oh,
just
wow.
completed my third Dopey challenge while 22 weeks pregnant. And then I
Woo!
also completed the Princess Half Marathon 5K, 10K, and half marathon while 30 weeks pregnant. So all my shoes are kind of hung up right now.
Yes.
It was definitely a big race season for me for many reasons.
Oh my yes, and not only that, we won't spoil anything for future, but your costumes were incredible. So we'll get
Thank
chatting
you.
about that later cuz like I literally absolutely love them. You pick such unique costumes that everybody recognized. So good. But yeah, so kind of do you want to share with us your Instagram and how you got started with that and just a little bit about why you chose your name?
Yeah, so my Instagram, I started probably back in 2018, and it started because I was doing long distance with my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, and we were meeting a lot in Orlando. I lived in South Florida and he lived in Jacksonville. And I think people were just tired of me posting all of my Disney adventures on my personal account. So I started a like Disney focused account where I was showing what we were up to, the races I was doing, and just kind of everything in between. I think I needed like an outlet. So that's how I started it. And lately it's been a lot more of like the Run Disney stuff and probably some future baby content just because that's like the next new thing in my life. But we get to go to the parks pretty often. And so we just like to share things that we find that we do. We try to find something new to do every single time we go. And I really just enjoy sharing what I love about Disney.
Yes, I love it. I kind of have a similar story too with why I started mine is like, I had friends that were like, "Why do you keep posting Disney? Oh my gosh," and made a separate account and I don't even have access to that personal account. Like I couldn't even remember the name of it. Like do you have the same issue or do you still
No,
occasionally use your
no, I still use my personal one. That's more for like the everyday. I try to blend a little bit of both, to share, like, a
Mhm.
little bit of my non-Disney life too, but my personal account's more just, like, for example, the weddings we go to and, like, just the
Ah,
random life home things that I'm trying to think of even, like, what's on there. Like, I went to a bridal shower, like, 2 weeks ago, and we had, like, we'll share, like, Kyle's birthday, and, like, a lot of my friends are pregnant right now too, so it's, like, their gender
aw,
reveals and their baby showers and all that stuff too, so I use that
gotcha.
kind of account for that stuff, but I try to, like, let them cross over a little bit because I don't wanna be, like,
Yeah.
strictly a Disney person, but at
Mhm.
the same time, like, that is, like, the reason I started the account.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, I cannot wait, and I'm so excited to see any future Disney baby content. Like, are you gonna be the kind of mom that like puts your kids in like little Disney outfits or that kind of thing?
I think probably, actually, yes, because I already have bought so many from Burlington, TJ Maxx, Marshalls. We just had our baby shower this past weekend, and we got a couple things from that too. I think everybody just kinda knows that's the default and easy choice
Yes.
for us. And we have a couple trips planned later this year with him, with our little boy, so he needs clothes for that.
Yes. Oh, I literally cannot wait to see all of those. But if you want to share again what your Instagram is so people can follow you, and again, I'll link these
Oh,
in the show notes.
yeah, so it's ms.tom_morrow. So it says
Mhm.
Mrs. Tom Morrow, which is basically a play off of, if you've been to Magic Kingdom and you've ridden the People Mover when it goes through Space Mountain, which is my like ultimate favorite ride. It's talking about how they're trying to page Mr. Tom Morrow. So I just took that and made the female version of it.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And kind of a little slightly on topic, but your husband, well, former boyfriend, now husband, and then,
Mhm.
whatnot. Does he love Disney just as much as you, or do you kinda have to drag him along a little bit? And also, is he into Run Disney?
So he has DVC. He actually bought it in 2015 and didn't tell me he was buying it. He just went ahead and did it. His parents own DVC, so he's been going to the parks and the hotels and everything since he was really, really little. Um, but I will say I am the one that plans the trips. I'm 100% the
Ah.
instigator in the relationship, but he doesn't hate going. He doesn't, he enjoys it. We've both been pass holders since 2011, so we've been around the block in the parks. And he with Run Disney, he's done, I think, 4 or 5 of them. I'd have to really sit down and count. I wanna say at least 4, maybe 5. And he will never probably do a half marathon. I can probably convince him to do a 5K and a 10K again.
Okay.
But the last one was Wine and Dine in 2011, and it rained the whole time, and he was like, "I don't ever wanna do this again." And I'm like, "Well, I can't wake up and predict the weather for you." So, but I think, especially our kid ends up becoming a runner or athletic, I could see him definitely joining in with us for that.
Oh my goodness. And yeah, because there's, at Disney events, there's those little kid races that they do,
Yes.
and then they can also do, like, the 5 or 10K, and some of those kids, I'm like, "Whoo,
I know, they
y'all
speed past me.
they're more," yeah, they're more they're faster than us, and they have more energy. I'm like, "How do you do that with your little legs? Do
I
do do."
know. It's so cute though, and I love seeing the little families all dressed up together, so I'm like, "I hope that's us one day," because Kyle is athletic and he will run, and he's pretty
Mhm.
good at running, he just doesn't, he leaves it to me to do it, but,
Gotcha.
he's
Lets
usually
it
at
be
the
your thing.
yeah, let it be my thing, but he would be inclined if there was, like, a really good enticing theme, like, if they brought back the Marvel
Oh.
races, he'd be so back into that. He did
Yeah.
Star Wars with me, I think he would be interested in that, but, like, Princess is a hard sell, Marathon Week is a
Yeah.
hard sell. So it has to be, like, a really compelling theme and a reason for it, but I don't
Yes.
wanna say never, but it's definitely more so me on the daily basis.
And has he come and, like, supported you and cheered you on in the past, or he kinda
Every
lets it be a
Yeah.
girls trip and you go with a friend?
So most of the races he comes, because again, we're pretty local, so it's easy for him to drive down, but sometimes he'll have to work a little bit longer during the week, so he'll come later in the weekend and he'll miss, like, the
Uh,
5K or he'll miss the 10K. Um, he usually does come unless he has, like, another obligation, like, we were in a season of life where we were at a lot of bachelor and bachelorette parties, so it's like, I'll tell him, like, "Hey, go do your thing, like, you don't have it's not a big deal, like, I
right,
can handle
right.
myself out there," but,
Yes.
I don't think he's missed more than, like, 3 or 4 race weekends total, and I've done
Gotcha.
quite a few of them.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Oh, well, none of those were my normal questions, but I loved learning more about it and everything. But we'll get jump into those questions. But my first one that I ask every single guest is, why do you love theme parks?
I think the reason why I love theme parks is I grew up going to them. Most of the vacations we had growing up were Disney, SeaWorld, Universal, Busch Gardens. My parents live in New Jersey or lived in New Jersey. They would take us to the Six Flags up there and all those other, like,
Ooh.
boardwalk centric things. We went to carnivals a lot as kids, and I just feel like we've always had that kind of vacation growing up, and yeah, we did explore other places, we did cruises, we would do, national parks and things like that, but for some reason, like, we just both Kyle and I did grow up with theme parks a lot, and I feel like the reason why I like going is, especially now, is it's a consistency feeling and that, like, I know what to expect, I know where I'm going, I know what I'm doing, like, and I like exploring other theme parks, like, we both were actually talking about, like, wanting to go to, like, Legoland, which we've never done before, and going to, Busch Gardens, which we haven't done in a very long time. I don't actually think we've ever been together to Busch Gardens, but we've both been separately.
Is this the Busch Gardens in Tampa or the one in Virginia or either? Doesn't
I've been to both, but I was referring to the one in Tampa just because it's closer.
It's closer.
Um,
I will say I grew up going to the one in, Virginia because I was,
yeah,
like, only a state away, so low key love that, like, park. It was a great park growing up with the coasters and
yes,
all that stuff, so I'm like, "Oh, someone's been to Busch Gardens in
yeah,
Virginia, yay!"
yeah. I've been yeah, because again, we went up to New Jersey a lot, so I feel like we would take
Yes.
road trips up and go whatever theme parks. Like, I really wanna go to Cedar Point at one point. We've done Hershey
Oh.
Park, which I wanna go back to. They have a race they used to have a race there. I don't know if they still do. My parents ran the
Ooh.
Hershey park race that they had. Um,
Ooh.
But yeah, it's been I don't know, like, we've always my parents, specifically my dad, really took us there very often, and being Florida residents, it was usually pretty affordable for us to go. So I just feel like it's been a part of my life for a long time.
I love it, I love it. So, probably during COVID, that was probably really hard not having, like, any theme park to go to. I know it was a while, and then Disney World opened up, but that must have
Yeah,
been hard. It's like, "We can't go to anything right now. What?"
yeah, it was. I mean, I think I kinda needed the break because we were going, like, once or twice a month, and I think both of our wallets appreciated the break. Um, but at the end of the day, I mean, it wasn't like I couldn't go, it was nobody could go. So I never really felt alone in
Ah.
that because, like, it wasn't just me that couldn't go, you know?
Right, exactly, exactly. There wasn't any, FOMO for lack of better
Exactly.
word.
No, exactly. Yeah, I didn't feel like I was missing a festival or missing this because everybody else was in the same boat.
Exactly, exactly. Alright, so this next one is a pretty fun question, and take your time if you need it, but not your favorite character, but what character do you most identify with that you're the most similar to?
Ooh. I've been asked favorite so many times in my life, so I feel like I could answer that
Ooh.
one really well, that I
Oh, yes.
relate to.
Mhm.
Ooh. I think the first one that comes to mind is Moana for some reason, and I
Ooh,
have a reason why, I think, because
okay.
I feel like she is very independent and very in control of her life, or she's trying to be,
Mhm,
and she's very curious and very adventurous and very,
mhm.
just, like,
Pushing the
high energy
boundaries.
spirit, yeah, and pushing the boundaries, and I
Mhm,
feel like that's kinda me too, like, I feel like I'm a very independent person, I try to do things on my own, I try like, when she is so Maui's not gonna stop her from getting to where she wants to go, like, I feel like that's
mhm.
how I am too, is, like, I don't let people stop me from doing what I wanna do, or need to do, and I feel like that's the first one that came to my mind, so I would probably say Moana.
Ooh. No,
Probably
that's a
her.
great one. A lot of people do say princesses, but no one said Moana, and I feel like she's so underrated. Like, she's wonderful, and she's got spunk and like you said, curiosity, and no one's gonna get in her way, and kind of finding herself. So I think that's so great. I love that.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So my next question is, and you've been going for a very, very long time, so you'll really like this one. But if you could go on any retired Disney ride, what
Oh
would
my
it
gosh.
be and why?
This is the most unique answer, and well, okay, there's 2. I could actually do 1 for each park really if I really, really wanted to. Should I do that?
Ah,
Should I do
ooh,
1 for
give
each
it.
park?
Yeah, that would be so
Okay,
fun. And you're talking
okay.
Disney World Park, so the one of the
Disney
4,
World
right?
Park, yes.
Okay,
So if
okay.
if I had to go back, I will start with Animal Kingdom. If I had to do that, or if I could bring anything back, I would want to watch the Tarzan Rocks again, which was a show.
Yes, I've
Yeah.
seen it.
Yes.
I
Loved
I
that show.
Oh
I know
my
it's not a ride, but
gosh.
I'm gonna put them both in there together.
Attraction,
Yeah.
attraction. Oh my
Attraction.
gosh. I have, like, a fever dream memory of, like, the monkeys on roller
Yes,
skates,
yes, and
like,
then, like, going through the audience, 100%.
so we're the same age, and I feel like when at that our age, when we saw the show, I was a little bored in the beginning half because it was just
Right.
singing, no characters came out, and then when the monkeys came out and Tarzan and Jane,
Yep.
that's when I was like, "Yes!" So, I'm, like, kinda the same with you, like, I wanna bring it back just so I can appreciate, like, the music and
Yes,
the
yes.
quality as an adult. Because as a kid, I'm like, "I'm bored, there's no characters."
Right, right. And yeah, there's no motion, there's no upside down, there's no this, but it's like, yeah, that was such I
Right.
remember the monkey part so vividly that that's what I would wanna bring back.
Yes, and for those that haven't got the pleasure of seeing it, the Tarzan Rock show was currently where the Finding Nemo show was, but it was an amphitheater, so it was outdoors,
Yes.
which
Which is so weird
now
to think about now, yeah.
it's enclosed now for Finding Nemo, but, like, I just love that show. Oh my gosh. Okay, alright, what's your next park?
If I were to go back to Epcot or bring back a ride at Epcot, I would bring back Universe of Energy. While I love Guardians and I'm happy it's there, Universe of Energy, like, we were there the last day. It was not in
Epcot.
service, I guess, yeah, in Epcot.
Yes.
Um, we would use that as, like, our break for the day, like, our nap time, our cool air, but we just knew that show so well because we literally went every single time we were there because we needed a break from the heat. It's hot in Florida, so when you've been
Yes.
drinking around the world all day or eating around the world, you need a nap. So that was our nap spot. So I would say
Yeah.
I would wanna go on that one again, like, one more time. Oh, go
I
ahead.
think too, like, Epcot has very minimal shade in, like,
Yeah,
indoor
I think it's
sitting
the hottest
areas.
park,
I
by
think
far
it
the
is
hottest.
too. It
Everyone
is
says Animal
so.
Kingdom is the hottest park, but I really think it's Epcot.
Yes, and I know this is still a current attraction, but the America show, or American Adventure, that is a good nap spot and also pretty, like, interesting how everything moves, but AC for, like, 30 minutes,
That is a good one, yep.
awesome. Big
Yes.
fan.
And then, okay, if I had to bring back a ride at Magic Kingdom, this is another one that's kinda like Tarzan
Mhm.
Rocks, but I literally talk to Kyle about this all the time, and I ask him probably, like, every couple months, I'm like, "Do you remember the Lion King puppet show that is now where PhilharMagic is?" I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it was like you walk through different rooms and there was puppets retelling The Lion King.
Yes, I have faint memories of that too, and
I would bring that one back.
when I first looked it up, I genuinely thought it was at Animal Kingdom, it makes sense,
Yes,
but I
right.
looked it up, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna go, like, YouTube, like, all of these, like, again, just to see them." Someone's got an ancient video somewhere on YouTube. Oh, I remember that as
Yeah, it's
well,
like
we're literally the same age.
yeah, no, literally, like, I feel like nobody remembers that one, and Kyle's like, "I kind of remember it," and I'm like, "How do you not remember that?" Because we went on it every single time we were there, and I love Lion King, it's my
Oh,
one of my favorite movies. Um,
and they
so
were
I
cute
would bring
puppets too.
I know, and I just remember, like, walking through all the rooms and getting so excited, like, when you moved into the next one, and I just
Yes.
I loved that show. And then in Hollywood Studios, and while it's not an attraction, but what I would bring back is Streets of America. And the Osborne lights,
Oh,
specifically the Osborne lights,
yes.
but I miss that so much. I don't think
Mhm,
as a young adult, I appreciated it until it was gone, how wonderful that area was and how
mhm.
true it was to, like, Hollywood and studio and filmmaking. Like, I also really miss, like, the backlot tour area, like, where,
Yes.
they had, like, the, what's it called? They had, like, a Honey, I Shrunk the Audience or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, like, play set, and they had the backlot
Ye
tour and studio catering, like, that whole area I love too, but I just really loved Streets of America.
Yes, and I didn't realize, like you said, as a kid, you don't realize, like, "Oh, this is San Francisco, this is New York," and there's a difference, and, like, as a kid, you're like, "Alright, there's no characters right now," like, or I mean, they
Right.
used to be come out every so often, but again, you didn't appreciate the movie magic, and so, like, I wanna go back to every single one of these with you just to be like, "Oh, yeah, I can appreciate this as an adult now."
Yes. Oh, I miss it. I
So
miss it.
good,
I
so
every Christmas, I miss the Osborne lights
oh,
specifically too.
I it was so wild, like, how massive they were, and I wonder what happened to all of those lights, like,
Yeah,
years later. Did they
I know.
donate them, or
I
we'll
actually have
have
no
to.
idea. Yeah, that's a good Google question. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um, but I would hope that they're in storage and that they'll come back one year.
I know, someday, sometime. I don't even care if you do it to, I don't even know where they would put it, but just somewhere,
Somewhere,
please.
somewhere, please.
Maybe in the front of, Hollywood Studios, that could be fun. There might not even be
That
enough
would
room for
be
all of them, but down that
yeah,
Sunset and, the
and
other
Hollywood
road,
Boulevard, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Love it, love
Even
it.
Disney Springs, put it somewhere. I don't care.
Somewhere, we need to appreciate it, come on. Ooh, Disney Springs, and then you get people buying more merchandise.
There you go.
There you go, Disney. Alright, my last question is, what attraction would you be devastated if it got demolished during your lifetime? Updates and improvements are acceptable, though.
Space Mountain, 100%.
Oh.
That is my childhood, like, ride. Actually, Magic Kingdom is my least favorite park, but that has my
Oh.
favorite ride, which is Space Mountain. I love Guardians too, I know that's a newer one, the
Yeah.
Cosmic Rewind ride,
Mhm.
I love, but Space Mountain just has this, like, nostalgia, like, tug on my heartstrings. I know it's probably getting an update at some point in my
Yes, yes.
lifetime, like, there's no way it's not, but, um, that is, like, the first roller coaster I went on, and I have, like, really fond
Aw.
memories of that ride growing up, and I always love seeing with the holidays how they've, been doing overlays at, like, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and Mickey's Very
Yes,
Merry Christmas
yes.
Party. There's been some overlays, so I love that they're, like, changing it up just a little bit, like, I'm okay with that, but if they got rid of that
Oof.
or, like, severely, drastically changed it, I would throw hands.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I feel you. And have you been on, the Space Mountain at Disneyland in comparison?
I have, yes, like, I think it like, just a handful of times. I haven't been over there since 2017, but, I did get to go on Hyperspace Mountain, which is awesome.
Oh, I love it. It's so fun. I love it. But I recently went out to California and I was like, "Man, I like this." I think Space Mountain over at Disney World here needs a little bit of an update because just even the comparison of just like the music at Disneyland Space Mountain versus Disney World, I think the music really brings a whole new level of thrill, even like you said for Christmas time when it's the I think it's the Carol of the Bells and it's like "Dun, dun, 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 dun,"
Yes,
and it's just oh, and the lights are going and you're like, "This is so close." Like, it's
yes,
so fun.
yeah, yeah, I'd
Such
be
a
okay with, like, updates or tweaks or seasonal changes and things like that, but as long as at the core, it's still like an indoor dark roller coaster,
yes.
I'm happy.
Also, if they're working on updates, I think that they should update the, pre-show Q video talking about, "This is a high-speed thrill
Yes,
roller
and
coaster," and
they're,
it's like
like, shaking through their yeah, I know what you're
yes, and
talking
it's
about.
definitely people in the '90s, like, it is so
It's
outdated.
old, it's
It's
old. I mean,
hilarious.
they recently renovated the exit queue. I feel like that was the most they've done in,
Oh,
like, a long time, like, where they have like, you kinda go up that ramp now, not the part where you're up, like,
yes.
you're going through the moving walkway where you see all those, like, rooms, like, the actual exit where you, like,
Right.
walk up a long ramp, that's, like, newer.
Yes,
Um,
it is. Also, I wish they had the moving walkway, they got rid of it, didn't they?
I haven't been
Or did
on
they
it in a long time now, so I don't know, but because
Oh,
I
well,
haven't
I'm
been able to
sorry to
ride.
tell the last, like, year and a half, they got rid of it, so now you actually walk that all
Oh,
past all,
do
like, the
you?
dioramas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes!
Ugh, that's annoying.
Unacceptable. It's a long
Alright.
way back.
It is. No, yeah, I haven't been on it in a while because I don't like we don't go on the rides every time we go to the park, so it's like it
Yes.
could be years since I've been on something like the teacups or Dumbo, even though I do go to the parks a lot. Most of the time, we're just walking around and eating and drinking and hanging out.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
unless there's something new or we're with people that haven't been in a very long time, we usually don't do all the rides. So, Space Mountain, I haven't been on in like almost a year, which is like probably over I'd have to look at my Disney Experience PhotoPass photos to know the last time I went on it.
Yes, yes, and then once you have the baby, you can definitely go on and tell me, be like, "This walkway is gone, I miss it." Oh my gosh. Hello, so we're back. Thank you so much, Alex, for answering all of those questions, and talking about old early 2000s, late 90s attractions that we wish we could bring back. But I do have one more question about
Okay.
if you remember the Pocahontas attraction, and I believe it was at Hollywood Studios with the grandmother willow tree coming around. Do you remember that?
It it's like a faint memory. I remember there
Yes.
being something, I couldn't tell you where it was, though. Why
Right.
did I feel like it was where Beauty and the Beast was? Am I crazy for that? There was
I
something there. Oh, or is that where Hunchback was? There was a Hunchback show too.
There was a Hunchback show? Oh
I'm
my
pretty su
gosh.
oh gosh, I have to Google myself. I think
We
so.
have to know. All the we could do a whole episode on 90s stuff,
Oh,
but
I know. It's it was in the Backlot Theater, I just Googled it.
oh my
It
goodness.
replaced the Spirit of Pocahontas, so I guess we're all in the same area.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Well, again, I'll have to go YouTube those other attractions as well. I'll probably do it tonight, honestly. But again, Alex, thank you so much for answering all of those questions. And now I'll let you
No
take it
worries.
away and share your magical moments.
Okay, so where do I start? Okay, I feel like I could start from the very like, honestly, there's so many moving parts to the whole story that just happened.
Always.
So, if you people don't know, when you register for a Run Disney race, it is months in advance, like 6, 9 6 to 9 months, maybe even longer months in advance that you register for the race. So, Kyle and I decided that we wanted to start trying in June, um, of 2022. And so in that time was race registration. So I said, I have a lot of friends that are struggling to get pregnant. I don't know how long I'm going to take, but I don't want to hold my life back from doing what I want to do. So I registered for everything I would as if pregnancy wasn't going to be an obstacle. And I was like, I will figure it out later. So come so I think there was one registration in June, which was for Princess. I think Dopey registration was in April, and then Springtime Surprise was in August.
Okay.
Um, and we conceived in August. So I found out 3 days after Springtime Surprise registration that I was expecting. But at that point, I had already signed up for Princess and I had signed up for Marathon Weekend. I had to skip Wine and Dine that year because I was going on a cruise for a friend. And then I actually didn't register for Springtime Surprise because I was supposed to go on that same friend's wedding in Mexico. So I was already going to be
Oh.
out no matter what, but I did register for yoga, which is the one that's coming up in, I think, like 3 or 4 weeks.
And
So I
also, when you registered, if you wanna share, you didn't just
yeah.
register for a little 5K. You wanna tell them what you registered for?
I registered for everything. So for marathon weekend, I registered for the Dopey Challenge, which, is the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, and the full marathon, and that was gonna be my 3rd time doing it, and also with, like, the theme of the '80s, '90s, retro throwback, like, I was like, "This is the year to do it again," because I try not to do it every single year because it is so much training and so much time, but, um, this was a good year to do it, and I was one of the fortunate ones to get in. I know that registration was such a nightmare for a lot of people just because everybody wanted to be in on it,
It's a very
and that's
stressful process for
it
me who's
is.
done it a handful of times. I'm like,
Yes. It's a lot. It's scary, and I've been doing them for so long, and so it's you never know what's gonna happen with it, but, I was one of the fortunate ones to get in for Dopey. And then for the princess races, which were this past, February, a couple weeks ago, I registered for the 5K, the 10K, and the half marathon, and what's funny is I actually, like, remember, like, the night before registration, I said, "Maybe I should just do the 5 and the 10." Like, I don't know, like, something in me is like, "I'm gonna be pregnant, like, I'm not gonna be able to do
Yeah.
it." And then my sister really wanted to do the 5K with me too because it's Jasmine and that's her favorite princess, and I said, "Sure,
Oh.
like, let's do it." And then something clicked, and then registration opened, and I just said, "I'm gonna do the challenge," and I just did it. Um,
Yes!
so I was contemplating it, which normally I just kinda no-brainer and I do them all. But I knew I wanted to participate at least in the 5K because my sister wanted to do it, and then I was torn a little between the 10 and the half, the 10K and the half marathon and the challenge, like what combination to do because I was like, "There's a good chance I could be pregnant if things go well."
Right,
So,
right.
doing the math backwards on that one, um, but I ended up doing the challenge because I also remembered that it was the 15th year anniversary for the Princess race weekend, and I love going for anniversaries. There's just something a little bit more special about those race weekends that have an anniversary tied to them. So I
Yeah.
ended up doing the challenge for that reason. So and then I didn't register for springtime because again, I was supposed to be at a wedding. So that one worked
Mhm.
out because I would have been 38, 37 weeks pregnant, which would have been probably not
Too
smart.
much.
So,
You woulda
a little too
you
much
would've you would've given birth on the course.
on the course, which would have been appropriate, but not smart or safe in any
I,
means.
like, they call in, "We need a medic." "Oh, is it a ankle injury? Is it a torn like a
No,
torn ACL?" "Nope, someone's
someone
giving birth."
someone's giving birth on the roads. So, do they get a lifetime pass because they were born in Disney World? I don't know.
Just
But,
like, "No, you need to keep running," and you're like, "We're almost to the castle." Oh
oh
my
my god.
goodness.
Yeah, people have made that joke to me already too. They're like, "Are you just gonna give birth on a race course?" And I'm like, "I mean, I would prefer not to, but
But, like,
yeah,
that would be epic, though.
that would be crazy." Because we did joke that like, had I if I did springtime surprise, like, that was a very high chance that I could do that. So,
Wonderful, wonderful. So you signed up, you
yes.
registered for all the ones you were going to, and then you found out.
And then I found out. And so I had a really easy pregnancy for the most part. I felt some nausea and some fatigue, like, earlier on in the first trimester, but I knew that if I was gonna have any chance of getting through all of those races, I actually had to really train hard and train safely. So the first
Mhm.
thing that I asked in my doctor's appointments were, "Is it safe to run? Is it like at 22 weeks, like, am I able to run a marathon? Like, is that going to be a possibility? Like, let me know now just so I don't get my hopes up.
Right.
And all my doctors, while they all blessed the idea, told me I was crazy. They're like, you can do it, but like, that's a lot. I'm like, I know. I was like, but what they basically told me too was just stay they gave me tips. They said, stay hydrated, look for certain warning signs of swelling, of overheating, of your heart rate going too high. Like, they gave me all the tips. And they basically said too to me, because you've done this so many times before, your body's already going to be used to it, so it's not going to be that much more of a change for you. So
Right,
just
right.
you're gonna have to adjust. It's not your race to PR. It's not your race to go fast. And I knew that. So it's like I mentally had to change myself to say like, okay, this is not the race. And I really don't ever try to PR at any of the Disney races.
Yeah, they're too
Um,
fun.
they're too
They're
fun. I
too fun.
enjoy it.
You don't wanna
You know, you spend too much money to not be on that course for as long as you possibly can. So I am
Right.
like a big proponent of enjoy it, take it step by step and have fun with it. And, which is what I told the doctors anyways. I said, "I you don't understand, like, I usually drink beer during the race, or I, like, meet characters, and
You're like,
I've ridden
"Don't do
rides."
that."
No, 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 I did not do that, but, like, I take my time and I enjoy it, so I'm like, "Trust me, I'm not pushing myself," and so, they ultimately gave me the blessing on it, and I had appointments actually right before and right after each of the races, so it was a good
Good.
check-in for me too to make sure that everything was still, like, looking good to go.
Really good.
So,
I feel like the fact too, like you mentioned that, you've done this before so many times.
yeah.
I can imagine the answer being different for someone who's never done it and like, "I was training for this and I'm pregnant now." Like, I feel they've been like, "Ah, let's not."
Yeah.
But you're a professional run Disney racer, so
Yeah, it's a lot of muscle memory, honestly, like, that's, I think, what allowed me to do it this time around. I
Mhm.
think I've been told that running is really great for people that are pregnant up to a certain, point in the pregnancy, it's good for
Mhm.
you, like, now I'm more on the walking side than the running side, but
Yeah.
you are allowed to run while you're pregnant, but I think every pregnancy and every mother and every, um, doctor will have different opinions on it, so that my only major advice is like to go get your doctor's clearance because I've had a very low risk pregnancy. Um, Everything's been going well, and again, I've been doing this. My body's been used to this, so it wasn't that much of a change for me. But I can't say, I also am hesitant to say like to everybody, yes, you can be pregnant and run. Like absolutely anyone can do
Right.
it, but um, people like me that are low risk and have been doing it for a while do have a higher chance of being able to um, continue to run and continue
Right.
to do races.
That's incredible. So the first, race that you did, what was that like? Or leading up to it, tell us about that for the
So,
marathon
yes.
weekend.
So marathon weekend, I was a actual nervous wreck, like, the whole actually, all the weeks leading into it, I was an actual nervous wreck because it's like I know to myself, I've done a 5K, I've done a 10K, I've done a half, I've done a marathon, I've done Dopey twice. So I don't really have
Ooh.
anything to prove to anyone. So it's
Right.
like it's at the end of the day, I know I've done this before. But like how I was saying, I feel like I am like Moana. I was like, I don't want anything to stop me from doing it, but I also have to learn my boundaries and know like when this is actually unsafe. So the 5K I wasn't too worried about because like leading into the race, I had trained up to 20 miles. So I'm like, okay, I
Ooh.
know I can do the 5 and I'm pretty confident I can do the 10K at this point. Like there's really nothing, you know, alarming about what I've done to get there. So then the first scary one was the half where I'm like, okay, I don't know where this is gonna go because I haven't done well, I've done a half marathon, but it had been a couple weeks at that point. Like a lot changes like week over week. Like I'm like, all right, like this is a lot longer than I'm used to. And I
Right,
also had to
right.
keep in mind that I had like a lot more recovery than I'm used to, meaning I had to ice, heat, rest my feet, and do like maybe 2 hours of recovery after every race, including the 5K and the 10K, because my body was more sensitive to running, essentially. So I
Definitely,
would
definitely.
I would do an ice pack, then I'd switch to heat, I'd go back to the ice, and then I would do it all again before I went to bed too, which is like 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off.
And you're
And then
probably not doing super long park days like a lot of people do, and they celebrate and they go
no,
hit the parks all day long the rest of the day. Like, you're like,
no,
"No,
yeah.
we gotta focus."
We gotta stay yeah, we gotta it was a very different race weekend experience because I did have exactly that, like, I had to go back home, and I couldn't go out and exert myself like I normally would because a lot of, a tip that I give a lot of first time runners is, like, just because you ran the race doesn't mean you should just sit on your bed all day afterwards, like, you do need to stay
Right.
active just to keep, like, your
Mhm,
body loose. So I would recommend going to the park afterwards, and I did still
mhm,
go, I just kept it a lot lighter than I normally would, where normally I would
mhm,
go for,
mhm.
like, 3 or 4 hours, this time I was only going for, like, 1 or 2, because, again, I have the
Gotcha.
annual pass, so it's easy to pop in and go get, like, food and then come home.
Right,
So
right.
but that was it was
Yeah,
definitely a
from
change with the whole recovery part of it too. That was the biggest, I think, change with how I operated during a race weekend. Okay.
Alright, so you do the 5 and 10K, but, you said mentioned that the theme was '90s and '80s.
Yes.
What did you wear? Because your costumes
Oh
are
my gosh.
truly incredible.
Thank you. So, I had a really hard time not hard time brainstorming. I had a long list, and, like, what I typically do when I'm running is think about what do I want to wear on the races, and then, honestly, when I train in a run walk interval, so when I'm walking, I'll typically, like, be ordering the pieces that I need, or I'll start
Ah,
writing things
multitasking.
down. I multitask 100% during the runs. So, for the 5K, I have had I for the 5K of marathon weekend, I ran as Britney Spears from, like, there's this, like, iconic photo of her in front of the Emporium holding bags with plushes in them. So
Yes.
which is, like, that was not I don't wanna say it was scary, but you have this element of you're pregnant, so you're not only, like, carrying your child and you're physically a little bit more uncomfortable, but you're also just carrying stuff for 3 miles, so it was definitely again, I like a good challenge, and I like like Moana, like, I will push the boundaries for myself, especially when it comes to creativity, like, I wanna have fun with it still at the end of the day, and it really wasn't that bad of a costume at the
Yes.
end of the day, and I had to take it slow, so it's okay that I walked with bags of merchandise, which is what I would probably do on a normal park day anyways. So
Yes. Let me describe
so
this to everybody that, can't see it, because 'cause I'll probably put up a picture,
yeah,
but you got the Britney
cool.
Spears, blue bucket hat, the skinny
Yes.
'90s sunglasses, her pink top, khaki pants, and sneakers, and like you said, with the merchandise bag, and you even found, like, '90s Disney park merchandise
Yes.
bags, which is very
Thankful
impressive.
thankful
Oh
for
my
eBay,
gosh.
and that nobody
Yes!
wanted to bid on them at this time in their lives, but I bought them really early on because I knew if I didn't do it for a race, I wanted to do it for Halloween at some point.
Oh,
So it was like,
yes.
either way, I'm getting this costume out there somewhere, but I ended up
And the
doing it
side by oh, yes, and the side by side pictures, it's literally spot on to what Britney Spears wore, so and we're
Thank you.
Britney Spears is becoming, more relevant nowadays too with the whole Free
Yes.
Britney thing. Perfect for Run Disney and stuff. Did people recognize you?
Yes, I got quite a few compliments on that one.
Oh my gosh, it was
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay, and then your
Okay.
10K.
My 10K was okay, so while it was '80s and '90s, I am still, like, a 2000s Disney Channel era girl, and a lot
Mhm.
of people wore, VHS costumes or they wore, um, things a little bit more in the '90s trends. I decided to go with the 2000s because that's what I grew up with, and I did a play on the Disney Channel games, which if anyone remembers that, that was when, like, Hannah Montana and Selena Gomez and the Sprouse Brothers, like, they all competed in
Yes.
this, like a
Olympic
challenging game Olympics,
styles.
exactly, that's it.
Yes,
But I
yes,
made
but
it
with all the
but because
major Disney Channel stars.
yes. And so I did that, but I did a Run Disney version of it, and I kept it kind of a little more neutral because I was like, "I can't pick a team." And had I been like a group it would've been a great group costume if you had 4 people to do each of the
Oh.
colors, but I ultimately decided I'm gonna do black, and I'm just gonna keep it a little bit more generic and pretend that I'm doing the Run Disney games, and so then what I also had was a light up Disney Channel logo sign, so it was hard
Mhm.
to see it in some of the pictures I posted because it gets what I learned was the light that I used made my face look like a blueberry, like, I legitimately turned blue
Oh.
in the photo, so, like, when I ran for PhotoPass, I turned off the light, but running in the park, I kept the light on. And I had, like, a little
Oh,
wand that made a noise, like, as if it was, lighting up
okay.
the Disney Channel logo.
Yes, and you had the
So
sweatband on and,
yes,
the like you said, the Run Disney logo, but it was, like you said, the Disney Channel games thing, like, so cute, so creative. Oh,
thank you.
it was such a good job. The high knee socks, gotta have those.
Yes. And all comfortable to run too. Everyone's like, "How are you holding a board?" I'm like, "It's foam core, it's so lightweight, and honestly, like, your body just you use your arms to, like, kinda pump while you run, so it's just I'm just now holding on to something versus yeah, it's not much different, but and I have a string on
Right.
it too, so it's if I ever need to put it down for some reason, it's just hanging off my side or off my chest versus me having to, like, put it on the floor or anything like that, so it's
Yeah.
connected to me in one way or another.
Yeah, it was very, very cute. Oh my goodness, I love it, I
Thank you.
love it. So the last 2 races, and you said you were a little nervous for running the half, but, what
Yes.
did you wear for the half? And then tell me about that experience and going through that
Yeah.
being how many weeks pregnant at this
I
point?
was 22 weeks pregnant.
Ooh,
So so I was definitely in a safe zone from, like, a trimester perspective and from a doctor perspective, but, um, I decided to dress as Princess Michelle Tanner, which was a costume I actually just had thought about for the Princess race weekends in general, but I thought with it being 90s, this was a really good time to do that. So, um, I dressed as what she wore in the parks, but I made it a little bit more runner friendly, and I had, like, the sign that was around the parks in the episode, like, saying she's princess for the day, so that people
yeah.
kinda could tell what I am. Because a lot of people thought if you didn't have the sign on, like, people thought I was, like, Piglet or the Cheshire Cat, so I had the sign kind of, I think,
Right.
like, helped signify exactly who I was.
And you had, like, the
But
scrunchies and her hair just the
yes.
same and a little tiara and
Yeah.
oh, it was absolutely adorable. And did you make that costume or, like
I I made that one, yeah, so it was all athletic material, and I just taped off stripes, and I used a pink fabric spray to, um
Oh.
yeah, so to make the to basically cover it in pink, so it was still breathable, it was still, like, it wasn't cotton or anything like that, so
Mhm.
I did make that one, just using some craft supplies, and I used it for the half marathon because that was the park that we ran Magic Kingdom or we go to Magic Kingdom in. You don't
Yes,
go to the Magic Kingdom in the 5K or the 10K, so I used that one, for
for
the half
princess of
marathon.
the day.
Yes, yes,
Oh, I
and
love
then
it.
and then that race overall, it went really well for me until the last mile, is when I started to feel like I was swelling, so I actually got, like, a little nervous, and I was texting my husband, I'm like, my arm is going a little numb, and I was like, "This is unusual, this has never happened before, and I feel,
Yeah.
like, totally okay." I was like, "I just" they told me to look for, like, swelling and things like that, so I'm gonna go to the medic tent. So I went to the medic tent after the race, I checked myself in, they took
Oh,
all
good. You
my,
completed the race, everything.
completed the race, yeah,
Okay.
it was the last mile,
Okay.
so I'm like, at this point, I kinda have to finish, like, there's no
Right.
like, I'm right there, and I walked it, I kept it super simple or super easy, and I just tried to stay as hydrated as I could, which I knew was a big concern going into the race is pregnant is staying hydrated. So I went to the medical tent, which I've never done before. I've stopped at medic tents on the course to get, like, BioFreeze or Advil or water or
Mhm.
whatever it may be, but I've never actually gone to the medic tent past the medals. So I checked myself in. They, like, wheelchaired me in. I'm like, "Guys, I can walk." They're like, "No, no, no, take the free ride. Like, we're gonna wheelchair you in." I said, "Okay."
You're
I
like,
was like,
"Alright."
"Alright, like, this is
Be like,
weird."
"Y'all come to parks with me?"
Yeah, right? Take me around
Push me.
everywhere. Yeah, so then I went back in there, I basically laid down, they took all my vitals, they gave me a banana, some more Powerade, some more water. I had 3 people attending to me, and they
Oh,
basically just kind of
wonderful.
continued to ask me over and over again, like, "How are you feeling? What's going on?" Like, and checking my vitals every so often to make sure that, like, my heart rate was coming down because it was up from running and walking, and to make sure
Mhm.
my temperature was stable, and they were just, like, looking at my hands to make sure that it wasn't too swollen, or anything like that, and ultimately, they were like, "You're fine." Like, they're like, "There's really nothing here that's, like, alerting us of it, and if it goes away, then you should be fine, and so I never felt any worse, I just got really paranoid, I guess, because the doctors have already
Right.
been instilling in me, like, "You need to stay hydrated, you need to look for this," and so it was in the back of my head so frequently, so anyway, it ended up all being fine, but I was in there for about 20, 30 minutes, and I walk out, to go back to get my, to get to the starting area where you go back to your car or the buses or whatever it
Yeah.
may be. There's no one there. I am the last
Oh,
person to leave. I was like, "How was I in there for so long?" Like,
you're right.
nobody is around anymore, and I, like, didn't get to say or, like, celebrate with friends that are at the finish line, like, it was just Kyle
Oh,
sitting there waiting for me, and I felt really bad, but,
what a sweet
um
little husband.
I know, he was so sweet about it. He's like, "Are you okay? Like, everything's good?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "I feel okay, like, I feel fine, but, better safe than sorry," is essentially the
Oh,
motto I
right.
used. But it felt weird coming into nothing, like, being completely alone, like, they're already changing the half marathon sign in the back, like, to the marathon, it's like or the finish line sign is already, like, starting to get
Right.
torn down, and I'm like, "Oh, man," like
Mm.
and
They
I know
move
I had to
quick.
yeah, they move real quick, so I was like but I was in there for a while, and, but yeah, everything ended up being fine. So, going
Good,
into the
good. And they were like, "You
marathon
can run tomorrow," and everything
yep,
like that. Ooh,
yep, they were just like, "Keep up your hydration because that's probably what's causing the, um,
swelling.
the swelling." Yeah, so they were like, "Just keep up with the hydration." So I said, "Okay." So I guess I learned my lesson that that's not enough hydration. So then going into the marathon, I put a lot more focus on that. Um, and so the morning of the marathon, I was super nervous. I was crying in the crowd, which like I'm tearing up. I wasn't like hysterical sobbing, but I was just like
Right.
really emotional. I'm like, this is, really kind of scary now at this point, just because this is like the big one that you've been training for. And I I just got really emotional and I don't usually get emotional before races because I have done so many of them before, but this
Right.
one
You're a
just felt
veteran.
really yeah. So I felt a lot more nervous going into it. But once I started moving, everything kind of, it just like keep going one foot in front of the other and just remember to hydrate. So I try to like tell myself just focus on that, focus on um just staying fed and fueled and doing what you can. If you need to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom, like don't worry about it. Just
Mhm.
and I tried as hard as I could to um run the first couple miles for like while the sun was not up to prevent me from
Ooh.
getting dehydrated. So I tried to push
Ah.
I'm using quotes, push myself in the beginning to get as far along as I could in the darkness before the sun came out.
Yes.
So
Yes.
then once the sun
Smart.
came out, I was like, "That's it. We're done. We're like, we're taking it easy," because it was a warmer marathon, I think, than a lot of people would have liked, but it wasn't awful at the end of the day.
Mhm.
So so that was just, the marathon was it was tough, and I have never gone to the bathroom so many times during a race because I was so overhydrated. I actually was tracking it on my phone. I stopped 15 times. So if people can do the math, that's like every mile and a half I had to go. And it's
Oh
just,
my
thank
gosh.
it was rough. That was hard. That was the hardest part of the marathon for me because my body at this point is kind of used to the running on your feet and the tiredness, like, I've experienced all that before, but having, like, intense bladder pressure and being like, "I need to go now," and which is maybe it's TMI, I don't know, but that's the reality of it, and that's
No,
how I knew I
no.
was hydrated because I was
Yes, it was
going so often.
you proved that you were hydrated, but the downside
Yes,
is you have to pee every mile and a half.
pretty much, yep,
Oh my
yep, so
gosh, so
and
you did what the doctors ordered. Good, good, good.
yes, yes, and
Just
so
slowed
I
you
got
down a little bit.
it did slow me down. I feel like I lost, like, 30-ish or so minutes, like, every stop took, like, a minute and a half, 2 minutes between waiting and actually going. So I
Yes.
lost, like, 30, 35 minutes on the course just going to the bathroom, and normally I would use that time for characters or other fun things, and I was like, "We
Right,
just need to
right.
make sure we're hydrated and get across this line
And
standing
I feel
straight."
like
So
too and you're the one that's pregnant, not me, but, like, I feel like too, like, pregnancy bladder's a whole thing, like,
the
people
whole
always
thing.
make jokes, like, you giggle a little bit and then you pee yourself just a little bit because like you
No,
said, the bladder, the
literally.
pressure.
I
And then
sneezed
you're
the other
drinking
day and I
more.
peed myself, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, this is real." It's so real. It's so real.
Ah, something to look forward to when it happens to me
Yes.
one day, yay. Oh, that's hilarious. And what did you dress up as well?
Oh, yeah, so for Dopey, which also was the worst possible costume to dress with a bladder issue going on, I dressed as, like, a jazzercise Dopey, so kind of playing again into the '80s and '90s theme, but I did, a jazzercise Dopey, so it was, like, a neon green, it was actually a bathing suit with biker
Yeah.
shorts, and, like, a jeweled, like, sweatband kinda vibe,
Yes. It was
um,
very cute, very, very cute, and
thank
very
you.
obviously dopey and so, so cute.
Thank you, but I will tell you, if you look at this photo, how did I go to the bathroom in that? Having to pull down the whole unitard, it ended up getting to the point where I just, like, pulled it over to the side. I pulled, like, the bottom of the
Yep,
unitard over to the side and pulled the shorts down and just hoped
yep.
for the best and that I didn't miss.
No
But
wonder it took you so long,
yeah,
every minute.
I told you it took every, like, stop took, like, 2 minutes because half of it was, like, a ward it was either you were waiting in line or it was the wardrobe situation
Right,
going on.
wiggling up and wiggling
Yeah.
it down. It's like
Yep.
wearing a romper almost.
Yes, yes,
Horrible.
exactly, and so, it wasn't my smartest choice, but I got it done.
You got it
It's
done, you
still
got it
and
done.
it was still comfortable to run in from, like, it had room for,
Yes.
like, my stomach, I didn't know how big I was gonna be when I was running, and biker shorts are always comfortable too, so it was, like, overall, actually a very comfortable costume, it just wasn't bathroom friendly.
Right, right. And there's a sweet picture I'm looking on your Instagram now of your husband carrying you, and you just look like, oh, relief and like,
Yes.
oh my goodness, so sweet.
He's the best. Yeah, that's, like, our kinda, like, traditional picture we take after every marathon is he, like, lifts me
Oh,
up and holds me with my medals, so that
it's
one was
so
a little bit more
sweet.
of a traditional pic, but it was hard getting up there. I'm like, "You're carrying 2 people now, so get me
Yes.
up."
Oh my goodness, it's so, so sweet. But you finish it, you get all the medals.
Yes,
How
it was
did
the
you
best feeling.
feel?
It was honestly, like, the most overwhelming and best feeling because I was so anxious going into that race for so long, and because it was such a new experience for me, like, I have this weird issue with doing things that are uncomfortable or where not uncomfortable, but, like, where I don't know what the outcome's gonna be or I can't predict what the outcome's gonna be. So I
Right.
had this, like, fear in the back of my mind of, like, what happens if I don't finish? Like, what do I do? Like, what how am I gonna feel? Like, I was already anticipating and trying to, tell myself what what to expect if this goes wrong. So, like, don't beat yourself up over it. Don't, harp on the negative about it. Maybe you'll experience what getting swept is like so you can share that experience with others. And I don't want to like
Right.
I don't want to sound insensitive when I say that either too of
No.
like, I know people try, they do genuinely get swept, but like maybe that is an experience that I wouldn't normally have and this is like the time for me to have that experience.
Right, right.
And I wouldn't have been like upset about I was trying to make my sure that I wasn't going to be upset with something like that.
Mhm.
Um so
Preparing for any
actually
outcome, like you said.
yes, yes, exactly. Preparing for any outcome, like it whatever I needed to do, to prepare myself is what I tried to do, but ultimately being able to finish was, like, one of the greatest feelings, like, I cried crossing the finish, which, like, I usually don't cry crossing the finish lines anymore,
Mhm.
but that one really got me, I got really emotional, um, I didn't get emotional during the half because I was so nervous about my body that I was like, "Just get to the medics, go," but the
Right,
marathon,
right.
I
Your
yeah.
focus was on
So
your
a little
body,
unsa
making sure you
yeah,
were good.
I was like, "I did this, it's fine," but I'm, like, already starting to think about the next day and how I'm gonna feel. I didn't have time to cry, I didn't have time to think about it, but the marathon I did cry, um, and just to know that, like, I actually could do that was, like, one of the most, like, wild feel like, it's so hard to explain, but it's so it's something that I get to tell my kid in the future that I did, and, like, I get to share that experience and story with him, and I got all the little mini medals, which if you've ever done a Run Disney race and you go to the expo merchandise area, they have like little replica mini medal pins. So I made sure to get one for him, and I was like, I can't return this. I gotta keep it. Like, we gotta have this for him. So in the nursery, he's gonna have all the little medals that he's earned with me too, like all little
Oh,
replicas.
man, this
So
baby is not even born and he's done he's run more longer
yeah,
distance than, most people have. That's
I know. I think
incredible.
yeah. So he's got his
Run
first
Disney
bling, as they
baby.
say. Yeah, and he signed up for the Disneyland, um, children's race or kids races in January too. So I hope he likes it. I hope he enjoys running. I hope he enjoys being
Oh my
active.
gosh, how sweet. Well, is
Yeah.
there anything else you wanna say about the marathon weekend before we move on to the princess weekend?
Oh, so marathon, honestly, marathon weekend overall with it being Dopey is just such like a rewarding weekend. It's not my favorite weekend because I love Wine and Dine. That will always be my number one, but
Uh-huh.
there's something special about marathon and having the Dopey and the actual marathon in there too that's just a lot more inspiring. And I actually um, I've said to myself, next year I'm not registering for Dopey because I don't think I can train with an infant, but I wanna cheer for the marathon because I have
Aw.
not had that experience in so long to be able to cheer others on. So I really want to give back to the people that have given to me because I remember my first couple races being so amazed by how many people would be out there cheering for you, and so I wanna do that this next time around, because it is
That's
such like a sweet and magical and, like, truly what makes the races so incredible in their own way is the crowd support. So I wanna be able to do that next year and give back, and, I'll have to do the half because of the Disneyland Coast to Coast challenge, that's my goal, but, um, I've, like,
that's
accepted that that was, like, the last Dopey for just a little bit. I'm not saying I'm never gonna do it again, but, that was, like, I knew that was gonna be the last one for a bit because knowing I was
for a
gonna have a
while.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing that I was
You
gonna have a
should
kid right before as Dopey training was gonna have to come in, I said, "This is not the year to do it." So it all kind of
Oh,
just yeah,
it was a
all came full
beautiful
circle.
closing
Yeah,
before there's a new addition to your family in your life.
exactly.
That's
Yes.
wonderful. And you should
Yeah.
definitely get one of those strollers for runners or like the one that they're like attached around your waist and you're like
Yeah.
pulling the kid. That would be
Yes, I've
fun.
seen those.
Oh my goodness. Well, now you're even more pregnant just a month later, and Princess Weekend rolls around. And you, again, not do one race, but three races. So
Yes.
share with us that and go through your wonderful costumes as well. Because your first one for the 5K was
Yeah, so
so original and hilarious and iconic, and I loved it. And
well,
so please tell us.
my sister will appreciate that. So as I think I mentioned, for that race weekend, my sister ran with me, and that was her, um, first/second slash second Run Disney race. She did one a long time ago in 2015, but it was her first one in a while. And she loves Aladdin and she loves Jasmine, which was the theme of the Princess 5K for this past year. And I was like, you get to decide what you want to wear. I'm in for whatever you want to
Oh,
do. I was like, this one's all you. And she's like, I want to be a loaf of bread. And I said, okay, we will do that. So for Christmas, I bought her a loaf of bread costume.
ah,
So she told me the link of the one she wanted, and it was, the line was like, "All this for a loaf of bread," which is from the movie. So she really wanted to do that, and I said, "Okay, well, I'll be like a Razul. I'll be your guard. I'll be like the one that's chasing after you because Aladdin stole you in the movie, and
yay.
went through all this trouble just to get a loaf of bread." So that was the
Yes,
inspiration behind that one.
and you had the knife and everything, and you had the
Yes,
little, headband with the
the
jewel,
turn.
and you guys looked so great. I
Thank
literally so
you.
during when while this was going on this weekend, I was actually at Disneyland for the Magic Happens parade, and I was with a friend who loves Aladdin, and I showed him your pictures, and I was like, "This is amazing, you need to see this," and he loved it just as well. It was
Oh,
so creative because
well,
most
thank you.
girls, when they do princesses, wanna do princesses or a
And
version
like
of a character.
tutus and yep, and glitter and all
Right,
that fun stuff. Yep.
and you guys are a guard and a loaf of bread, and I was like, "This is incredible, I love it."
And
It's
it's so
so
funny because
original.
people thank you, and people it's so funny because when you're going through the race and you're going through at night, when it's dark in the parks, like, there's different lighting, and it made her look red, and so people thought she was bacon while we were running. Everyone's like, "Oh, look, it's bacon." And we're like, "It's bread, but thanks." Like, at least you're
Thanks,
close.
and
It's
I
another
love
five-letter B
this
word.
one. Yes, and I love
Oh, yeah,
this one in
thank you.
Agrabah, Morocco
In Morocco.
Pavilion. It was
Yeah,
so perfect.
so we had, like I had brought, my pro tip for all those people that are into taking the photos, I brought, like, a clicker with me, and so I had it propped up, like,
Ooh.
on my water bottle, and I would just, like we got in position, and I, like, would click instead of having to do the self timer. Um,
I
so I
like
had
it, I
that.
like it.
Thank you. Yeah, I had that one, I had
And you
that
got
one
to
there,
meet
and,
some fun
there was
characters.
yeah, we were hoping Genie or Abu or Aladdin would be out, but they weren't, so we just had a couple minutes we spent in Morocco just enjoying it, and I saw a couple other runners doing the exact same thing too, which is so fun, like, to see it's always fun for me when I'm dressing up to find a place along the course that's, like, resonated with the costume to take photos. So,
Right,
that one worked
right,
out perfectly.
and you got to meet Jasmine. Did she love
Yes.
your outfits?
She did, and she said the line, all this for a loaf of bread," I think is what she said to my sister. She said
Ah,
something and my sister, like, lost it. She's like, "This is what I wanted it for. This is the moment. This is, like"
you're
it made
like,
her so happy.
"I've deceased. I can die now."
Yes, pretty much, pretty much. I'm wondering if I thought I wrote it in my one of my captions if I remember exactly what she said, but yeah, she called it out, and it was, like my sister, like, was so happy about it. It was so cute.
Oh, so wonderful.
So that was the 5K, and I,
Yeah.
got to do it with my sister, which was really sweet, because, my life's gonna change a lot drastically coming up in the next couple
Mm,
months, and so the time that I have, like, kind of alone with my siblings and my parents and my friends is dwindling, and so it was really special and sweet to have, like, that race experience with her, so much so
mhm.
that she registered for Wine and Dine later this year. So we get to do it all
Yay!
over again.
Oh, how fun, and you're gonna go support her or run with her? I know you said you're
Run with
taking a break
her.
on Dopey. Oh, you're gonna run with her,
Dopey, yeah,
wonderful.
we're gonna see how
I
it goes, but yeah,
I
Adobe
can't
is
wait to
just
see
hard.
what your theme
Yeah.
is. Oh
We
my
d
gosh.
we already started talking about it, and registration was not even, like, 48 hours ago. But,
Oh, really?
yeah,
I had no
we
idea.
we registered yesterday, and we're already still talking about it. Um, so we're starting to I, like, planted the seed. I'm like, "We gotta start thinking about this soon." But, I will be back for Wine and Dine. Disney the marathon weekend is just hard. Marathon training is a lot harder, I think. It takes a lot more time and effort than the 5, the 10, and the half marathon do. So the half marathon, we'll see how I go with, like, postpartum recovery and all that, but,
Right.
I said I'll whatever, I'll kind of the same thing as I said when I registered the first time. I'd rather have the option to know that I can try to do this versus not having the option at all. So
Right,
we're gonna
right.
see how it goes. But,
Yay!
um,
Then
so the
the
5K went
10K.
well. The
Oh,
10K,
yeah.
the 10K, whoo,
Ooh.
the 10K. Um, Kind of the same mentality that I had with marathon weekend where I was like, "I feel like I can at least get through the 10K." I was
Right.
I knew I could get through the 5K. I started getting nervous about a 10K, and about 2 miles into the 10K, I didn't know it at the time, but I was getting a Braxton Hicks contraction. I didn't know that's what it was, but I knew something was, like, physically different. Like, I felt this extremely tight band across my stomach where it's to the point where I physically stopped. I pulled over to the side and I stopped, and I was like, "What is going on?" And I just let myself kind of breathe for a couple seconds, and I, um, went to, like, a snail's pace of a walk, and I drank water, I fueled up, and it started to go away. And I was like, "Okay,
Good, good.
keep going," but, like, that was weird. And, I actually confirmed with the doctor, like, 3 weeks ago. I was like, "I think I've had Braxton Hicks already," and I explained to her exactly what happened. She goes, "Yeah, that was Braxton Hicks." Which
Oh.
is not a bad thing to happen. It's actually pretty normal from what I've learned.
Mhm.
But that was definitely what happened. But again, like I've been taking myself, or I've been doing these races a lot slower than I normally would just because of all the things going on in my body. But
Yes, yes.
that was a weird one because then at mile 4, I felt great. I was like, this is where I want to be. So it was just really weird. It was a really weird thing to think that at mile 2 and 3, I was like not feeling great.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah.
but then
You're
the
like,
last half
"Body,
was
noted. I see you.
yes,
I'll slow
yes,
down, but we're gonna finish this."
yes. So that was like my first time having a Braxton Hicks contraction. I was like, well, and then the more I Googled it, it is onset by like activity and walking and all that stuff. So
Ah,
I'm like, okay, this
running
is
in a
like,
princess weekend.
it's fine. It's fine. But I had no other like weird symptoms. I didn't feel dizzy. I didn't feel like dehydrated or anything. I learned my lesson from the half marathon. Like you need to stay hydrated. So so I felt okay finishing it, but I was like, that was weird." Like, that it kinda mentally threw me for a loop, honestly, during the race because I already start going to, like, worst case scenario of, like, what am I okay? Is this okay? Is this normal? Because I hadn't had a
Mm,
feeling like that yet. So it threw me
right.
for a little bit of a mental loop during the race, but at the end of the day, like, actually, once we got into Hollywood Studios, on that course, which was the last half of the race, around mile 4 is when I started to feel a lot better,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know what changed or what happened, but, um, I definitely enjoyed the second half of the race, which was inside the parks, which is the part you want to enjoy anyway, so I was
Yes,
glad that
yes.
the stuff happened on the outside of the course or, like, on the roads. But that's really, like, how the 10K happened, and for those
And
that
then
didn't yeah, I'll go
oh,
into the
do you
costume
wanna
now.
yes,
Yeah,
costume!
the costume. So 10K, for those that didn't know, is Beauty and the Beast themed, and I wanted to try to play off of being pregnant or playing off the mom role, so I ended up dressing as Mrs. Potts, with, like, kinda being the mom and pretending that, like, my son was Chip and, like, the one that I'm carrying is Chip.
Yes.
So I did
And
Mrs.
at
Potts.
this point, did you know you had a boy or
Yes, I did know.
oh,
Yes.
oh,
I had
so
I
cute.
had toyed around for a little bit on which costume I wanted to do for that race, 'cause I was trying to think of, like, pregnant characters to embody, but,
Yes.
I ultimately did Mrs. Potts, and I had done Chip before actually in, like, 2017, I think, for another princess race, but,
Mhm.
this one was just kinda like a homage? How do you say that?
Like,
Like a
homage to the original when you did Chip,
yes,
so this is
yes,
perfect.
and
Oh,
to
and your
being like
cute
a
little purple beret for, like, Mrs. Potts, and your skirt was so pretty, and you're perfect, probably very comfortable, like, white t-shirt, ready to go. Very,
yes,
very
and
cute.
I had, like, a little gold armband on to be, like, her handle, and I was carrying a
Yes.
chip too to kind of represent him throughout the race, so that was where that one came from. I saw a couple other Mrs. Pottses out there, and I love to try to be as original as I can, but that one just had more of, like, a sentimental, um, meaning behind it.
Yes, definitely. Oh my goodness, so, so cute, and again, you're a mom, and you're having a little boy and everything, so all the better.
Yeah.
And
So,
then you celebrated.
yes, we celebrated all throughout Epcot where I could.
And you're wearing your Mrs. Potts for those that aren't,
Yes.
watching. Your shirt is
Happened
so,
to be
so cute.
it's the shirt that I wore after the 10K, it just so happened to be at the top of my laundry pile today, so
You're like, "Oh, perfect." I
perfect,
thought you
it's
totally did
appropriate.
it intentional, but we'll just
I
pretend like you
did
did.
we can tell people I did, but no, that's
Perfect,
just the
perfect.
one that so happened to be on the top of my, stack today,
Oh, I love it,
and
I
I
love
still
it.
fit in it.
And then the very last race
Ah,
bef
the half
before
marathon.
ooh,
Yes, the half marathon. So, the same Braxton Hicks contraction happened to me again during the half marathon,
oh
but this time
no.
it happened on the walk to the corral. I hadn't even started running yet, and it hit, and I was like I texted, my friend Kayla, I mean, she was also running the half marathon, and I texted her at 4:30, I'm like at 4:30 in the morning knowing she's gonna respond to me, and I'm like, "I I am feeling I'm already in pain, like, I don't know what to do," and she's like,
Oh
"Well, just keep"
no.
like, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, like, are you okay?" I was like, "I'm okay, but, like, this is" like, whatever, so I'm so thankful I had her to kinda just, like, mentally channel my energy to, because Kyle wasn't awake at that point for me to talk to him,
Mhm.
and no one else that I, talk to on a regular basis was there, but my friend Caleb that, was also running, she was up, with me, so I was able to kinda, like, we talked through it, and I was like again, I had to pull over and stop walking, because I was trying to get to the crowd as early as I could, no I wanted to be as far up as possible to give myself as much time as possible,
Right,
um
just in case you had to walk the rest of the way or you weren't feeling any
exactly.
better kinda thing. That's smart. Very, very
Exactly,
smart.
so yeah. So I did that, and, fortunately, it did go away, it went away a little bit faster than the 10K did, but I was like,
Oh,
"That's
good,
just so
good.
weird." Yeah. So it's just one of those things that, like, your gut kind of comes into play of, like, I think in my gut that I'm probably okay. Um,
Mm,
because again, I had that same exact feeling yesterday and nothing really came out of it, so I said,
uh-huh.
"Okay, well, we just know we really have to take this one easy," and that's what we did, and so I basically told myself just get through just get through it. Like, this is not the race
Mhm.
where maybe you stop for all the characters anymore. This is not the race where, you know, you have as much fun as you typically do, because at the end of the day, it's just about crossing safely, which is a really
Right.
hard mental change for me because I'm so used to, like, just taking advantage of every single possible
Yes. And all the
moment that you can.
yeah, and the special
Exactly.
opportunities, rare characters, fun
Exactly.
photo ops, like
Yes.
yes.
So I relied heavily on PhotoPass, and basically my I basically kept continuing to track myself and how I was on pace, and if I was good and the line looked short for a character that I was semi interested in, I did jump in them, but I didn't do any ones in the beginning. Like, I only did them after basically I got through the castle. I said, "Okay, you can kinda take a
Yes.
break here, like, and enjoy it." And what was so lucky about that half marathon, I don't know if you saw or if you heard about it, but there was fog for, like, 2 hours where there was no sun, which was, I think, the saving grace of me getting through that race
Yes.
because there was no sun to drain me. So it was a
Yeah.
very, like, cool and comfortable half until the last mile is when it got really hot. But,
But that last mile out of 13.1,
yes,
that's not bad. That's
not
not
bad.
bad.
No, no
Oh.
complaints here. And at that point, I knew I had about, like, 20 minutes ahead of the balloon lady, so I was like, "I'm good. I'm in the home stretch, like, I am clear."
Mhm.
And I never got close to them, which I know a lot of people get scared about, and what I was nervous about, but I do actually know one of the balloon ladies on a personal level, so I knew if I got down to that point that I would have, like, a really good support system behind me to keep me going as long as I could. But
Good. Oh, wonderful.
but yeah, so, I finished it well. I was let we just it was one of those, like, perfect storms of, like, good weather, starting to feel better, taking it easy, and having a comfortable costume, which was,
Yes.
which is really important for me that race weekend. Normally, I can try to push the boundaries and, like, carry crazy things or have, like, things
Yes.
attached to me, but this one was a very comfortable one, and,
And it looked wonderful too.
thank you. So I dressed as Prince Charming, which a gender bender Prince Charming. Again, most people do the princess vibe, but then I went with a Prince Charming, which was also kind of in honor of the little boy that we're gonna have, our little hopeful future Prince Charming. Um,
Oh.
so that was the idea behind that one, and the medal and the race theme was Cinderella, so it was just kind of a perfect natural fit for me. I didn't see any other females out there dressed as Prince Charming, so I
Ooh,
felt pretty special. I felt super unique.
yes.
I saw a
Oh, and you
couple
got a
males
picture
dressed
with
like that, which is
Cindy and everything?
yes, she was at the finish line. A lot of people were there for Moana. Actually, I'm sorry, Cinderella was the challenge theme, but the, half marathon was Moana. So the line for
Oh,
Moana was crazy long, but no one was really in line for Cinderella. So I was able to get, a photo with her, and then I stopped with, Snow White and her Prince Charming as well. So we
yes.
stopped for that picture. Any of the princes basically that I saw in the chorus, like there was like a Jester Goofy, um,
Yes.
Li Shang from Mulan was out, so I stopped for him. Just try to enjoy it. I was very selective on who I stopped with basically at that
Oh,
point.
yes. I loved it, I loved it,
Mm.
and you're crossing the line picture, you're wiping your tears, oh, like, it
Oh
gets
my
me
gosh.
emotional looking
Oh
at
my
it too,
gosh.
I'm like, "Oh," just now, especially knowing everything you've gone through too.
Yeah.
Oh, that was such a good photo pass photo.
So what happened was my one of my best friends, Sam, she was texting me throughout the race. She's like, and she was tracking me, and she's like, "You're gonna do it. Like you're right there." Like she was so sweet to me over text
Aw.
message, and I'm like so dry back because I'm like just trying to get through it. And Kyle was rushing to the finish line. Like they left a little later than they wanted to, and I ended up slowing down significantly to wait for him to get there, just so he could be there
Oh.
and see it. And he finally gave me the all. I was like, I'm gonna wait by like the gospel. So if you've run the race before, you know that there's this like gospel choir like right at the corner into mile 13. And he's like, I'm here. You can go. Like you can finish. And I'm like, okay. And so like that just got me emotional. Then I see the mile 13 marker, which is Cinderella. And I'm like, which it's just like I'm wearing Prince Charming, it's Cinderella, and something happened, and I legitimately lost it. I couldn't see out of my eyes because I was tearing up so much.
Oh.
I have live photo on my phone, and so like the photo of me taking the picture with the 13 mile is like me like going like, okay, like and I couldn't see the photo. and I lost it, and I texted Kyle the most embarrassing photo of me, like, crying on the court. He's like, "How are you?" I was like, "I'm crying." He's like, "What are you doing? Like, come on, finish." No, I'm so
You're
emotional.
almost there.
And so then right after mile 13 is where they have some photo pass for that, like, with the Epcot Spaceship Earth behind you, and that's where they caught me crying. I, like, wasn't paying attention, and I was like, "Oh my god." So looking at that photo afterwards, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't even." It's, like, so cool that they caught that because it was so genuine and so raw of an emotion, but, and then you see me crossing the finish line a couple of photos later, and I'm like, "Woohoo, like, I did it." But I, like, had
Yes.
to wipe the tears from myself. I'm like, "You can do this, like, you don't wanna be crying at the finish, like, be happy, do it, like, you did
We
it."
want a happy
And
photo.
happy
Yes.
photo we want happy photos, but it's kinda cool to have, like, both in there too.
Anybody I know we kinda talked about pregnancy before, but, like, what would you say to anybody, whether they're pregnant or not pregnant, like, wanting to run a Disney race?
So I would say, like, the first off, there's you can do it. That's, I think, my number 1 is this is like that quote from, is it Princess Diaries? No, Another Cinderella Story, where she's like, "Don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game." Like, don't let the fear of being pregnant, prevent you from trying at least. And then I also
Mhm.
would just say, like, my the best advice I can give is go to your doctor and find out, if you're cleared to go, because pregnancy is so different and so, unique to everyone and every body. And then
Yes.
also be open to learning new techniques. Like, I had to run with like a back support waistband, which was new. I had to have different shoes than I'm used to doing because of the
Oh.
added weight that I had. So I had to get new shoes, and I had to remember to hydrate more. So I had to learn a little bit of
More
different
than you think.
tricks.
Yes.
Yep, more than I think. So I had to learn a couple of tricks myself, doing it, but it wasn't impossible. It was definitely doable. It's a little scary, but you'll learn to have that motherly instinct and let your gut kinda kick in, and I think that's also key is learning to listen to yourself and to your body.
I love that so much. Before we close out, is there anything else you wanna add? I think that was a great ending, but if there's anything else you
Thank
wanted to
you.
share before we close out the story.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, at this point, like, I feel like I've talked about anything that I would've wanted to close out. Like, I'm coming back for Wine and Dine. I hopefully, I'll be at
Yeah.
Disneyland, for that race, hopefully with the little bean, and
Yes. So lastly, where can we follow all of your adventures again? I know you mentioned in the beginning, but share with us again, and everything will be linked in the show notes as well.
yeah, so, the best place to find me and to follow me is on Instagram. It's, Ms Tom Morrow, so it's ms.tom_morrow. So that's basically where I post most of, if not all of my content. I've dabbled in TikTok, which I guess it's really the only other platform most people use these days, but,
Yes, yes.
I try to post in there, but I'm not really good at it. I'm really good at scrolling on it, but I'm not really good at posting on it. But
Same, same, same problem.
it's, like, too much to handle. Don't do the Twitter, I don't do Facebook, like, I don't do
Oh,
Snapchat, like,
same.
it's yep, it's just mostly Instagram and, TikTok, but, um, that's where you can find me, so I'm hoping that, I'm due May 3rd, so I will have a lot of changes in the second half of this year, and I don't plan to stop running anytime soon. I just might have to take a little bit of a break for a little
Or
just a little tiny break
just a
from
brief
the amount
intermission, that's
a
fine.
brief intermission.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I love it. And Alex, thank you so much for sharing both of those stories and what it was like, your incredible costumes, and what it was like to run pregnant. Like, it seriously means the world to me. And I hope to have you on again soon. And then we can
Yes.
keep us updated on your sweet baby boy. And
Thank
yes.
you. No, this is so
Awesome.
great. It was great to talk to you, and, thank you for having me.
Of course. All right.